Yeah, this is really is a fantastic competitive edge for entrepreneurs because if I'm able to one secure the structure in the really the structure of my company on a blockchain while delineating what I want to be maintained publicly versus stored privately, instantiate roles, and also maintain governance, but in a way that isn't limited by the anonymity that's inherent within DAOs. You really do shift the way that people begin to understand corporate formation. And I can also see quite a few, probably states and even countries interested in this type of technology. Because if you can tell somebody, listen, I'll incorporate in your state, pay some taxes, but I can hire completely globally and still be within your regulations, they'd be like, sign me up right away. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. I mean, like, how powerful would it be too if like a nonprofit organization was able to say, thank you for your donation. Now you can look at this ledger and see exactly where every dollar of your donation went. Or, even within like your local government, I would love to see, what my tax dollars actually went to seeing. And, so many people I think have this mistrust when it comes to public entities. And I think this could be a really powerful way to support rebuilding that.
I think so. Yeah, I can absolutely understand the value of either public initiatives or nonprofits being able to trustlessly verify exactly where expenses are being utilized. I mean, I remember a couple years ago there was a report that came out that some of the best well-known nonprofits in the world are actually run pretty much like any greedy company was, where a lot of funds were going to the board members, a lot of stuff were being used on lavish expenses. And that's also this is something it's a differentiation I've seen in the DeFi space. You have your bad actors, as with everything else in the world, but there is an ethos prevalent within almost all blockchain that collaboration really is the future. It's no longer about competition in the traditional aspects. Of course, you have business competition here and there, but I actually find that it's being weeded out. It's the initiatives, the protocols, the platforms who understand that by adding one and one together, we don't actually get two, we get 2.5, we get three, because we're able to create new value. And this is something that hopefully, fingers crossed, will actually permeate the greater consciousness of the globe far into the future and outside of the blockchain space. That's really something that at least at Rome Blockchain Labs we've carried through unwaveringly since we've begun. We were talking earlier, Ashley, before we started recording about how at Rome Blockchain Labs, abundance is actually our primary understanding. We see that there is more than enough in the world for everybody to have everything they need and then some. It's just a matter of being able to distribute the opportunity and that value equally. And for us, blockchain, for our laboratory, is one of the leading technologies that facilitates this. It's trustless, it's transparent, it's open, and you can also build anything you want on top of that. So you can actually create value, be they asset backed tokens or securities that are open on markets 24/7 in ways that you can't do in traditional markets and with traditional technology at present. And we've actually seen that at integrating Metis with the Rome terminal. We have NetSwap, we have Hermes, we have all these new platforms coming in so that way, if I'm just a normal person walking into DeFi, I can go to the terminal, connect my wallet, and then I can open up some of the leading applications across all the top networks right there and use them all at the same time. What kind of opportunity do you see coming from that for Metis users?
Well, I think that, one of the things that makes me to stand apart from, maybe other chains is that we're able to kind of have the security and decentralization of the Ethereum network, but we offer the scalability piece. So really fast transactions and, they're cheap. We're the cheapest L2 fees. So I think being able to, the incredible like user interface that you have on your aggregator where people can go and see like all of the different things that they're involved in one place. That's really powerful. And I think people will be able, in that kind of comparison type of interface, be able to
Mhm.
see the power that Metis really does have to offer. And I love that, what you were saying with abundance being kind of like the driving force. I think in our economy in general and just kind of like the typical way of thinking, even the way that we define value in something is based on this idea of scarcity. Something is more valuable if there's less of it out there. And there's some math to that. Like if I own $1 out of $100, well, then I own a greater percentage versus if there are 1,000 out there in the world. But
Mhm.
it's an interesting idea that we've kind of based all of our value around this scarcity concept. And so the idea that in a blockchain space, people can come in and kind of have a more even playing field, and that, a girl in Somalia can have the same platform and access to tools as, a trader in Silicon Valley. And so those things are something that we really think about when we're considering user-friendly ways for people to see our tools, and then also to compare, like, why is this network going to be easier and cheaper and a better space for me to build and create wealth for myself and tap into that abundance versus some of these other things that are out there. And I love the collaboration piece. Like, you'll never hear Metis saying like our competitors don't have it right. I mean, the beauty of the open source code space is that we're all innovating together, and your success is my success. And that paradigm shift in Web3 can be really powerful if we allow it to permeate to like our individual actions, the way that we work in our jobs every day. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm pumped that Rome Blockchain is on that same path.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always great to see friends in this space who understand kind of that same general direction we're going about it in our own way. Is that you guys are building? I think one of the things I've seen at Metis that really does differentiate your entire organization apart from most other blockchain networks is that while the technology is fantastic, it seems as if the prevailing sentiment and value proposition is actually the ethos or the perspective you guys have. I mean, Metis is so vision driven. It's tremendously refreshing breath of air to see that, because everybody always talks about we got highest TPS, we got lowest transactions, all these great things, which you guys do have fantastic parameters for. But the team, everybody who I've spoken with, says we're building a new economy. We are building a new type of DeFi. We're building a new type of blockchain. And when people hear that and they understand what's going on, they can understand and, like you said, individualize or personalize what that means to them. If I'm a digital art creator, I can do it far faster and far more inexpensively on Metis. If I'm launching a financial platform, I can affect far greater amount of people in a fair way than I can perhaps somewhere else. And with the emergence of decentralized finance, let's just start there. What have you seen are some of the hallmark differences between decentralized finance in the blockchain space and finance and banking as we understand it in the real world outside?
Yeah, this is my favorite thing to teach, actually. Like, I just did a workshop on this last week. But essentially, I think that we see some remnants of the traditional finance world when it comes to like crypto Twitter. Because when I first joined the space, I was so overwhelmed by just like learning the new language, and it's a techie kind of world. But beyond just the tech, there's this like cultural thing going on where people use a different language, and it's almost like an insular community. And it was reminiscent to me of this like kind of Wall Street language, where I feel like sometimes financial organizations will use these really confusing terms because they don't want it to be user friendly. They don't want the average person to know how they can, have sovereignty over their finances and make informed choices. They want you to know that you have to trust them. And don't worry about trying to figure all this out. I'll manage this for you. And while that can be really convenient and easy, and honestly, like sometimes it's the move for some people, I think that having the awareness of, what this system is doing, that there's a small group of people controlling so much with, banking regulation, access to certain funds. If there's some socio-political thing going on, like your funds could be frozen, or you could not be able to send money somewhere or receive money from somewhere. This is actually happening like right now. So the idea that in a DeFi space, you are the keeper and controller of your assets, and you will pay fees when it comes to like gas fees, but those fees are not going to a small group of people who are making all the decisions. They're going back to the individual user. You're supporting a community that is building things to support you. It's a very collaborative space, and it builds confidence and autonomy, and I think hope.
Wow, excellent. Completely aside from that, I actually want to use that quote. So Ryan, if you're editing this, supporting a community that supports you, I think really does embody the essence of what DeFi and blockchain represents, the potential here. Because it's interesting. I was talking with, I have a friend over at CNN. She's a reporter, and I met her at a conference in DC a while back. And she asked me, so Alex, how exactly does blockchain and DeFi differentiate itself from the traditional finance space, in the sense that you have that top elite, that like 1% that hold 90% of all the funds, and you have like the 99% down here that holds the remaining 10% or something like that, within those ratios? And at first I said, well, I don't know if it really is that different, right? Because you have centralization of Bitcoin and Ethereum, where a couple of validators control the majority of the pool. But as I looked into it deeper, and as I began to understand the growth of blockchain 3.0 of various L2s coming out, the security of networks is actually expanding, the scaling of it. There still are large actors in the space, but new technology is coming out to actually increase liquidity in financial markets. So financial markets become more stable. If you're a trader, you're not worried about losing 30% of your portfolio overnight, necessarily. The recent market downtrend might big differ, but on a day-to-day basis, you won't see those swings like you did 2 years ago. And also, because it is open source, because it is open to literally anybody with a computer and an internet feed or internet connection, you can actually now participate in this economy across every single layer, right? Imagine trying to go to a bank and say, hey, I want to run your security with you. They'd laugh at you and you walk out. But you go and you approach a blockchain, you say, hey, I want to help improve the security of your network. They say, welcome aboard. Here's a document, here's a contact, have at it. That level of openness is representative of a shift in mentality that we've seen time and time again in the blockchain space. And it's only a matter of time until that openness and that inherent trust in collaboration does begin to spill over into the broader community at large. Because I can guarantee you the type of thinking that's going on in blockchain right now isn't limited by the technology. It's the technology is reflective of that shift in mindset. So I think we're going to see a lot of this type of collaboration coming out around the world. That being said, this is a discussion about blockchain, so we'll limit it to that for now.